You think power comes from speaking louder. You think influence comes from having all the answers. You think people follow those who dominate the room with their presence. You are wrong, dead wrong. And then that misconception is exactly why you are still sitting at the bottom of the hierarchy wondering why nobody takes you seriously. The truth that Machiavelli understood, the truth that the elite have weaponized for centuries, is far more sinister and far more effective. Real power does not announce itself. Real power does not need to convince. Real power operates in the invisible space between what is said and what is felt. And once you understand the psychological trigger I am about to reveal, you will never look at human interaction the same way again. You will see the strings, you will see who is being played, and more importantly, you will learn how to become the one pulling them. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who barely speaks, yet everyone in the room seems to orbit around them? Have you ever noticed how certain people can walk into chaos and immediately the energy shifts? The volume lowers and suddenly everyone is waiting for their approval? That is not charisma, that is not charm, that is control. And it operates on a principle so primal, so hardwired into human biology that once you activate it, compliance becomes automatic. People will not even realize they are obeying you. They will think it was their idea all along. The mechanism I'm talking about has a name in psychology. It is called manufactured uncertainty. And before you dismiss this as another self-help buzzword, understand this. Uncertainty is the most powerful emotional state you can induce in another human being. Why? Because the human brain is a prediction machine. It craves resolution. It craves closure. It craves knowing where it stands. When you deny someone that certainty, when you become unreadable, when you withhold the validation they are desperately seeking, their nervous system goes into a state of hyper-awareness. They start scanning you for clues. They start adjusting their behavior to get a reaction from you. They start trying to please you without you ever asking them to. You have hijacked their operating system. Think about it. When someone explains themselves too much, when they over-justify their decisions, when they seek your approval constantly, what do you feel? You feel superior. You feel like you are the one evaluating them. They have handed you the role of judge. Now flip it. When you refuse to explain yourself, when you let your decisions stand without apology, when you give no indication of whether you approve or disapprove of someone, what happens? They feel the weight of your silence. They feel the void. And nature abhors a vacuum. They will rush to fill it with compliance, with effort, with submission, all to relieve the discomfort of not knowing where they stand with you. This is not theory. This is behavioral science. In the 1960s, psychologist Leon Festinger coined the term cognitive dissonance. It describes the mental strain we experience when our beliefs and reality do not align. But there is a darker application of this principle. When you create social dissonance, when you give mixed signals, when you are warm one moment and cold the next, when you validate someone and then withdraw without explanation, you create an addiction loop in their brain. They become obsessed with figuring you out. They become obsessed with earning your consistency. And in that obsession, they lose their autonomy. They stop acting from their own center and start acting to please you. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that a prince should be like a fox and a lion. The lion frightens wolves. The fox recognizes traps. But what he did not spell out explicitly, what you have to read between the lines to understand, is that the fox operates in shadows. The fox is unpredictable. The fox does not show its hand. And that unpredictability is what keeps everyone else reactive. When people cannot predict your next move, they cannot prepare a defense. They cannot manipulate you. They can only respond, and the one responding is always one step behind. Let me give you a tactical example. Imagine you are in a meeting. Someone challenges your idea. The average person immediately defends themselves. They explain. They justify. They try to convince the challenger that they are wrong. What have they done? They have entered the challenger's frame. They have accepted the role of defendant. They are now playing a game where the challenger holds the power. The Machiavellian response is different. You look at the challenger. You hold eye contact for a beat longer than is comfortable. You do not smile. You do not frown. You let the silence stretch. Then you say something like, interesting perspective, and you move on. You do not engage. You do not defend. You do not even acknowledge the challenge as legitimate. What happens in that room? The challenger is left hanging. They expected resistance. They got nothing. The audience is now watching them, not you. They look foolish. They look like they are trying too hard. You look unbothered. You look like you are operating on a level they cannot touch. This works because you have violated their expectations. Human beings rely on social scripts. When I do X, you do Y. When I challenge you, you defend. When I insult you, you get angry. When I flatter you, you warm up. These are the scripts we learn from childhood. They make social interaction predictable. But the moment you break the script, the moment you do not follow the expected pattern, you create confusion. And in that confusion, you have power. Because now they do not know the rules of engagement. They do not know how to hurt you. They do not know how to manipulate you. They only know that you are different. And different in a social hierarchy often means higher status. Here is the brutal part. Most people are so starved for validation that they will do almost anything to get it from someone who withholds it. If you hand out praise freely, if you are always supportive, always affirming, always available, you become common. You become predictable. And predictability breeds contempt. But if you're selective, if your approval is rare, if your attention is a reward that must be earned, people will start performing for you. They will start competing for your acknowledgement. You have not asked them to. You have not demanded anything. You simply became scarce, and scarcity creates value. There is a concept in economics called the scarcity principle. When something is abundant, we do not value it. When something is rare, we obsess over it. This applies to attention, to approval, to presence. The person who is always available, always responding, always engaging is taken for granted. The person who disappears for days, who does not always answer, who seems to have a life beyond the interaction becomes fascinating. Where were you? What were you doing? Why did you not respond? These questions are symptoms of obsession. And obsession is a form of control. You are living in their head rent-free. Now let me address the obvious objection. Is this not manipulative? Is this not cold? Is this not sociopathic? Let me be very clear. I am not telling you to become a monster. I am not telling you to abuse people. I am telling you to stop being a victim. Because if you walk through the world as an open book, if you wear your heart on your sleeve, if you give everyone access to your emotions, your plans, your vulnerabilities, you will be exploited. Not by everyone, but by the ones who matter, by the ones who understand the game. And when they use your transparency against you, when they weaponize your honesty, your kindness, your need to be understood, do not come crying about fairness. The world does not reward fairness. It rewards leverage. What I am teaching you is a defensive strategy that happens to have offensive applications. When you become unreadable, you protect yourself. You stop giving people the map to your mind. You stop handing them the ammunition to hurt you. And as a side effect, people start respecting you more. They start seeking your approval. They start complying with your requests because somewhere in their subconscious, they have registered that you are not like the others. You are not needy. You are not desperate. You are not performing. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you valuable. There is a specific sequence to deploying this psychological trick. Step 1. Establish baseline warmth. You cannot be cold from the beginning. That just makes you seem antisocial or broken. You need to show that you are capable of connection, capable of warmth, capable of approval. Let them taste it. Let them feel what it is like to have your positive attention. Laugh at their jokes. Ask them questions. Show genuine interest. Make them feel seen. This is the foundation. Without this step, the rest will not work because they need to know what they are losing when you withdraw. Step 2. Withdraw without explanation. This is the critical move. Do not announce it. Do not justify it. Do not say, I'm going to be less available now. Just become less available. Respond slower. Be less enthusiastic in your replies. Take longer to answer texts. Be less emotionally expressive. If they ask if something is wrong, give them a vague non-answer. I'm just busy. Things are fine. Nothing specific. This creates the uncertainty. They had your warmth. Now it is gone. And they do not know why. Step 3. Observe their reaction. This is where you will see who has been affected. The people who do not care, who do not change their behavior, those are not the ones you have leverage over. But the ones who start reaching out more, who start trying harder to engage you, who ask if they did something wrong, who seem confused or concerned, those are the ones you now influence. They are in the loop. They are trying to solve the puzzle of your changed behavior. Their energy is now directed at you. Step 4. Intermittent reinforcement. This is the addiction mechanism. You do not stay cold forever. You come back warm, but unpredictably. One day you respond quickly and warmly. The next day you are distant. One conversation you are fully engaged. The next you are distracted. One time you give them praise. The next time you are neutral. This randomness is what creates the obsession. They cannot predict when they will get the reward, so they keep trying. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Variable ratio reinforcement. It is the most powerful behavioral conditioning tool that exists. Slot machines use it. Social media uses it, and now you can use it. Step 5. Leverage the compliance. Now that they are in this state, now that they are trying to win back your consistent approval, you can start making small requests. Can you help me with this? Can you handle that task? Can you do me a favor? They will be far more likely to comply because compliance is one of the ways they are trying to earn back your warmth. You have not explicitly said that. They have inferred it. And that makes it even more powerful because it feels like their choice. Let me tell you what happens when you master this. You will notice that people start deferring to you in group settings. You will notice that your opinions carry more weight even when you offer them less frequently. You will notice that when you do speak, people stop talking and listen. You will notice that others start seeking your approval without you asking for it. You will notice that you are no longer chasing opportunities. Opportunities start coming to you because you have become a person of perceived value. And perception is reality in the social world. But here is what nobody tells you about this path. There is a cost. You will feel lonely sometimes. Because to maintain this power, you cannot fully let people in. You have to keep a part of yourself locked away. You have to stay in control of your image, your reactions, your availability. It is exhausting in a different way than being powerless is exhausting. Being powerless is the exhausting of constantly reacting, constantly defending, constantly seeking validation from everyone around you. Being powerful in this way is the exhaustion of discipline, of restraint, of playing a role even when you want to drop the mask and just be human. You have to decide which burden you prefer to carry. The burden of being walked over or the burden of being in control. There is another layer to this that most people miss. When you become unreadable, when you master manufactured uncertainty, you also gain something precious. You gain the ability to see clearly. Because you are no longer performing, you are no longer so busy trying to be liked that you miss what is actually happening. You start to see other people's patterns. You see who is genuine and who is fake. You see who is trying to manipulate you. You see the social dynamics of the room. You see who has real power and who is just loud. This clarity is a gift. It is like putting on glasses for the first time and realizing the world was blurry all along. You cannot unsee it once you see it. And here is the paradox. The less you need people's approval, the more they give it to you. The less available you are, the more they want your time. The less you explain yourself, the more they respect you. It is counterintuitive. It goes against everything you were taught. Be nice. Be available. Be understanding. Communicate. These are not bad values. They're just losing strategies in a world where most people are playing a different game. If you bring a rule book to a knife fight, you are going to bleed. And you have been bleeding for years wondering why being good is not enough. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But I would add a third option. It is best to be a mystery. Because fear breeds resentment. Eventually, people rebel against fear. Love breeds entitlement. Eventually, people take love for granted. But mystery breeds fascination. And fascination is sustainable. People do not get tired of a mystery. They get tired of certainty. So give them just enough to stay interested, but never enough to feel satisfied. Keep them guessing. Keep them trying. Keep them in a state of perpetual pursuit. And in that pursuit, they will obey you, not because you commanded them, but because their own psychology has trapped them in a loop where compliance feels like the only way to resolve the tension you have created. Let me share a final tactical insight. There is a way to amplify this effect even further. It is called strategic vulnerability. Once you have established your unreadable baseline, once people are already trying to figure you out, you give them one small moment of realness, one brief crack in the armor. You share something personal, something true, something that makes them feel like they finally got through to you, and then you close back up. This one moment of vulnerability becomes precious to them. They will treasure it. They will feel special. They will feel like they are the one person who truly understands you, and they will work even harder to get more of those moments. You have given them a taste of the real you, and now they are addicted to finding it again. This is the game. This is the reality beneath the surface of every interaction. Some people play it consciously. Most people are being played unconsciously. The question is not whether you want to participate. You are already in it. Every time you walk into a room, every time you send a text, every time you interact with another human being, you are either gaining status or losing it. You are either being read or doing the reading. You are either the player or the piece. The question is whether you want to keep being moved around the board or whether you are ready to become the hand that moves the pieces. If you are tired of being overlooked, if you are tired of being taken for granted, if you are tired of watching less capable people command more respect simply because they understand the invisible rules, then you need to wake up. Stop explaining yourself into relevance. Stop seeking approval from people who have not earned the right to judge you. Stop being so available that your presence loses its value. Become selective, become scarce, become unreadable. And watch how quickly the power dynamic shifts. Watch how quickly people start treating you differently. Not because you became louder, not because you became meaner, but because you became quiet in a way that forces them to lean in. Because you became cold in a way that makes them chase your warmth. Because you became a puzzle that everyone wants to solve, but nobody can. The world is divided into two categories. The players and the pieces. You have been a piece long enough. It is time to learn the moves. It is time to understand that obedience is not commanded. It is induced. It is manufactured through psychological precision, and now you know the formula. Now you have the blueprint. The only question left is whether you have the discipline to execute it, whether you can resist the urge to be understood, whether you can sit in the discomfort of being misunderstood, whether you can carry the weight of the mask without putting it down. If you can, you will never beg for respect again. You will never chase validation again. You will simply exist, and the world will rearrange itself around you. Subscribe if you're done being the one who jumps through hoops. Subscribe if you are ready to make others jump for you. See you in the shadows.